Greetings, brothers and sisters. This is a very strong show, very powerful show, I must add. And it's talking about the assassination, right? Death by fire. Death by fire, the assassination of our sister, Dr. Betty Shabazz, known as Sister Betty X, the wife of Minister Malcolm X. This is a show that I have waited on for some time with great anticipation because, brothers and sisters, we have no idea the mind of our enemy. We just don't know. We have absolutely no idea of the mind of our enemy. So this show is one of the most serious shows that we will ever do. This is a very, very serious show. All the shows are serious, but certainly this show is more serious than many of the shows that we have participated in the past. And it's serious because it's talking about Sister Betty. Why her death would be important, right? An important move in this chess game. I said it before, we are in a game of chess. We're in a game of chess. And what kingdoms do. And you have to see America, brothers and sisters, as a kingdom. We have to see it as a kingdom. If you're not seeing America as a kingdom, then you're missing it. You're missing it. So America is a kingdom. And what America is fighting for, right? What America is fighting for is continued, right? Continued supremacy and the desire to continue to remove, right, the queens from the board. Isn't that right? You want to move the queens. Why is the queen the most powerful piece on this board game? Because if you remove the queen, who's able to bring life, right? The king is fine, but the queen is able to bring life. She can move every which way, right? No nation rise higher than this woman, right? Isn't that right? So our queen is able to bring life to the movement, continual teaching to the movement. You know, we were royals when we came here. We didn't cease to be royals. We have not ceased to be royals. You know, and you have to understand the game you're playing and by whose rules. And when you understand that, then you're well on your way, because we never cease to be royals. That's the one thing. We never cease. The second thing is simply this, is that on the white man's terms for his own game, which is a game of life, right? This is a game of your life. We have to understand that in playing this chess game, and playing this game of life, we have to understand that for him, the bloodline is important. Bloodline for the white man is the most important thing that he has, because he can connect it. With links, can connect it. Even if that bloodline is attached to black lives or connected to blacks, right? And we're talking racism right now because that's his game. So he anticipates, the white man can anticipate through his bloodline certain moves, right? Certain moves in this game of control and white supremacy, superiority. He can anticipate certain moves to guarantee him longevity, right, as a power. You have to understand that. So tonight we're going to be talking about the death of Sister Betty X, death by fire. We're also going to be talking about certain key black players in that. The Black Boule. We're going to talk about that. Who would have the most to gain? Who would have the most to gain in light of something was to happen to our sister? So, brothers and sisters, we got a really interesting show coming on tonight. And I'm very excited about it, very excited to record this type of show because I know that it will help us be deeper, have deeper understanding of what's going on and what we're in today. So I encourage you to come in and sit with us, brothers and sisters, as we entertain what the enemy is doing. We entertain what the enemy is doing. And this is very, very, very important. Very, very, very important. Because if we don't understand it, then we are lost and we'll be out of touch with the true wiles of the devil, true wiles of what he does. We'll be out of touch with it. We need to understand why we call the white man the devil. We have to understand that. We must understand it. There's no way for us in any kind of civility, if we're going to have any kind of advances in these battles that we're fighting until we come to war. Before we have any advances, right, we've got to have some understanding. Right? You can't fight the devil without having understanding. We've got to have some understanding. So we come today to have some understanding of this death by fire of Sister Betty X-Shabzz. Gotta have some understanding. We can't count it to chance. This has to be discussed because there's a lot of curiosity and a lot of questions surrounding this incident, this horrific incident that our sister was in. And the other thing is, we don't even have her here to make comment on it, so we don't know. Excuse me, brothers and sisters. We don't know. We have no idea what truly took place. We know at one time, young Mauricelm-Lei, the grandfather of Minister Malcolm X and Sister Betty X-Shabzz, by his mom, Kobila. At one time, he was saying he didn't set the fire as a child. And then there was the time when he said he didn't remember setting the fire. They've gotten rid of all of that. They've gotten rid of all of that. So we leave from that to him taking responsibility for setting the fire. This is strange. This whole fire fingerprint is just strange. Very strange. So that's what we're gonna be talking about. As brothers and sisters come on or not, we're gonna be talking about this because it's very strange. These are very strange actions, and they're strange because when you understand the fingerprint of fire, when you understand it, it doesn't make any sense that young Mauricelm-Lei would set a fire, and he himself, as a child, said, "Oh, I don't remember doing that. I don't remember." So, brothers and sisters, we have to discuss it. We have to. I think there are some answers there, and I think you got enough sense to know why I'm so curious concerning this incident. So we're not going to get totally into it. I know normally I ramble off until the sound closed down, but I'm waiting for brothers and sisters to come on. And not only that, but when the introduction is complete, we're going to just talk about it. And this is a worthy show to report these kind of findings. And I have literally waited on this show. Literally waited, because we see that Minister Malcolm, his wife, Sister Betty X, his grandson, Malcolm-Shabzz, the heir apparent of Black nationalist teachings, right? Black nationalist liberation theology through his grandfather. Then his aunt, who is suspiciously dead after the killers of Minister Malcolm, who were actually killers, they all played a part in it, are released from prison. So we have to talk about this. Something we have to talk about. I'm ready to talk about it. It's gonna be a very interesting show. I'm so eager, brothers and sisters. Eager to talk about it. My God. I'm just letting this song minister to me, brothers and sisters. This is a long fight for freedom, justice, equality, and Islam. This is a long fight, brothers and sisters. I'm just letting it minister to me. My God. All praises is due to Allah. That's why we fight. We're going to be free. Yes. Break the chains, brothers and sisters. We got to break the chains. My God. Got to fight through it. We break the chains, that means we are uncovering the truth. Uncovering the truth. Right? The white man said discover. Right? We're uncovering. My God. Peace be unto you, brothers and sisters. Peace be unto you. Hallelujah. Peace be unto you, brothers and sisters. God continue to strengthen us, continue to help us uncover all of the layers that the white devil has put in front of us to confuse us. May God have his way in this world today, brothers and sisters. May God have his way in this world that you and I are in. And may God, my God, continue to guide us, because we have such a subject today. Peace, Sister Donna. Peace, Sister Nicole Bay. Salam alaikum. Salam alaikum. The book, there are several different prices. I'm going to put that link down here. There are several. You'll have to go on the site, sister, to see it. But there are several different prices for books on there. But let me say this: with any donation, we'll definitely make sure you get a book. But we definitely appreciate anyone purchasing books, because we definitely have to sell the books. But there are several different prices on there, and I can bring them up to talk about it, since you asked, and I appreciate you for buying a book, because it definitely helps us so much. Definitely help us so much. So I'm pulling the site up to be able to give you that information. I'm going to announce these book prices, and we have manic aggressive personality disorder, a cultural psychiatric study and research. That book is $39. It's about the Atlantic slave trade. It's $39.99. It's about the Atlantic slave trade, and it's a very critical research concerning the mental illness of Pan-African races and variation in vast African population past to present. So that's $39. We have the book of Blood Brothers, the story of Minister Malcolm X and Alex Haley. That's $49 on the research, and that book that book was a notable book amongst independent writers. So it's a research, and I'm very, very thankful for it to have done it. And a lot of it is compilation from Alex Haley himself in 1986, when I was a very, very, very young journalist, 12 and 13 years of age, with Black Nationalist Network. So that's that book with Minister Malcolm X and Alex Haley is called Blood Brothers. Then we have Manic Aggressive Personality Disorder 1 and 2. You get both of those books for $69. It's talking about mental illness among the Black community. You have, in the introduction of that, let me say, we talk about the enslavement of African people and how racism is used to justify it, and how Black people are having Black rage. In other words, self-defense. What the white man calls Black rage is self-defense. And we talk about the death of George Floyd, and every other death that has happened prior to that, and discuss current deaths. We have African and African American Studies intro through 2, right? And that is one of the books that I use as an adjunct professor in lecture, where I was adjunct professor to Arkansas State University. I was adjunct professor to Kansas State University, adjunct professor through attachments to Harvard University, and adjunct professor as a international speaker and national speaker here in America. When I explain our disposition, and this talks about prehistoric times at the early African society of 20 million years to 7.3 million years ago. And this is talking all about Africa. So you'll know about Africa, know about the heavy rainfall levels and all of that from the very beginning. From that period, we give emphasis on carbon data and all of that. Then we also talk about the white man, where he comes from, how the white man is connected to Eurasia, what the first white man being black looked like, and why he was different, why he was distinct. But it had nothing to do with his color. But he did have strong recessive genes. So we talk about that, and it's a very, very good research. We also have Mount Father Africa to Cave Mother Europe, which is $39. We have, and all of these are lecture savvy, so you're able to use them. In Africa Stone Age too, I want to point out, which is Mount Father Africa to Cave Mother Europe. I want to point out that in the preface, the Africa's Stone Age, we talk about the dawn of man since BCE, right? 55,000 years to 60,000 years ago, about humankind who existed in Africa peaceably, right? How they existed peaceably until that time, and how you began to have the Platonic War, and how Africans are enslaved as early as that, kidnapped, and even eaten. We talk about in that book the 4 articles of scientific existence or evidence. Article 1, human, what it is to be human. Article 2, humankind. Article 3, man. And Article 4, mankind. And we discussed those in depth. We have part 1, who killed Malcolm X? Why was he killed? The epilogue, in in-depth behavioral historical research. That book is $49.50. We have who killed Malcolm X and why was he killed? Part 2, right? The epilogue and in-depth behavioral historical research. And that is also $49. So you can buy part 1 and part 2 for $100. We have Black Rage, which is an in-depth historical socio-clinical assessment called Blacklash, and that book is $49.99. We have Blackheart, the story of a true abolitionist named John Brown, and that is $49. It talks about $49.99, which is $50, a penny short of $50. But it talks about the white man. John Brown tells the black people that white people are not your friend. Do not befriend them. Don't even trust them. He tells people don't even trust him. So he said, don't trust no white man, not even him. So he said, anytime a white person stresses for you to trust them, that they're getting ready to kill you, and it's all about American slavery capitalism. So he fought and killed white people. We described John Brown as the only white revolutionary to ever come to this earth. The only one. Also, for those that are concerned about business, we have the rise of black private lending and how it has shaped the mortgage marketing. Citizens of Solid Trust Lending Corporation. So you're able to build in your community individuals that set aside certain money to start buying houses and rehabbing them. You do it through a group practice. And also wrote that and talked about it years ago for Forbes in Forbes magazine. So you can get these things, right? Get you a group. You can get housing, get a house, a single house or several houses, and you can renovate those houses and turn them into apartments. Turn them into studio apartments, right? So if you got a 4-bedroom house, you can turn it into a studio apartment, and you can actually make money with it. Right. And what we say, the challenge is to find people that's willing to do that. Right. But those people out there, I haven't given up. We'll find them so we can do it. Just finding them so we definitely can do it. And let's talk about Shutterstock and all of that. So those are the prices of the book. And I definitely encourage you to certainly buy it. We need it. I'd be lying if I said we didn't, brothers and sisters. We certainly need it. And I want to thank you for coming on the show and joining with us, because we are certainly in need of the subscription. Please subscribe with us. Thumbs up, like, right? And subscribe and hit the bell, right? Thumbs up. I'm doing like Vicky Dillard. She said, thumbs up, like, subscribe. So, yeah, brothers and sisters, we definitely want you to purchase a book. Sister, please Nicole Bay, we put that link up at the top. I'm going to put it back, put it in here too. It's called a support link, and you'll be able to go and see those prices if you didn't get a chance to. Okay, Lynn. All right. Well, you found the book that you wanted, definitely, and just let me know. And when you see your Cash App, I'll definitely email that book right to you. That's a good thing about it, brothers and sisters. I can email it right to you. I spent all that time with my books on Amazon, and was getting a sale on Amazon, but the Amazon was ripping me off, literally ripping me off. Then when I try to send some people books on Amazon, they'll mess it up. I guess when they found out who they was dealing with, then they'll start messing up your book sales. So that's the reason why I created my own book site, and for those books. And I hope that you like it. I hope that everyone goes on the site like it. I definitely work to try to make sure that it is very comprehensible. And if you'll look, I still have some of those on the site. I still have some of those Amazon books. A small link for those Amazon books that are on there. The ones that I did sell. I kept them on there. But I won't allow Amazon to sell any more of my books. They can't sell nothing else for me, because any organization that's run by the man, and I hated to even go on there. I had some advice, so I went on there, but I didn't want to, but I'm glad that in the time that I was on there, what I did was I was organizing my own site. I organized my own site because that was the best way I could do it. If Amazon could be paid to sell my books, then I can at least put my books out for free on a site, so I wouldn't have to pay that, and be able to give it to Black people at will that will want it. And I'm just gonna go through the pain of letting my people know that I'm here and putting out these shows so that they can hear the truth. Because we definitely need the truth. We definitely need the truth. We gotta have the truth today. And brothers and sisters, I'm telling you, so many of these things are falling through the cracks. I never forget, I was talking with Brother Coakley years ago, about the death of Sister Betty X-Shabzz, and he was trying to get something together. He mentions it very slightly. He touches on it very slightly, but he was wanting to get a show together. Just couldn't build up the interest at that time of having an audience to be able to talk about that show. So he wasn't able to do what he intended to do. He wasn't able to do. But bless God and Allah. You can say Jesus, you can say Yahweh, right? You can say Jehovah, whatever you want. We bear witness that there's only one God. You can say, well, he's known by many different names. We already know that. So you can say whatever you want. But bless God, we're able to bring this research and study of our Sister Betty X. This sister was powerful. I'm going to tell you a few things that you may not know about her, and there are things that you may know. There are things that you may know, but I'm going to say some things that you may not know about her. Because, the deeper you dig, brothers and sisters, the darker it gets. The deeper you dig, the darker it gets. So we're going to talk about this lovely, beautiful freedom fighter. And I'm going to tell you something, I'm about to shock you all. This is amazing. It's amazing, and it's a little crazy. Did you know that me and Sister Betty X-Shabzz was born on the same day? She was born on May the 28th, 1934, and I was born on May the 28th, 1973. We were literally born the same day. This is amazing. Now, she pointed this out. It was 1986 through 88 that I was able, as I told you before, as a youth, to be able to get two of the strongest interviews that I ever gotten in my life. And don't you know, then the magnitude of greatness, the magnitude of her greatness, she sat with me, removed from a lot of other reporters that were trying to get a story. Here my no-name paper, little Black Nationalist Network paper, that Dr. Khalid was pushing. He was just elated that we had a paper, that we had a little paper. And he pushed it, that I got the interview, and she sat down with me and gave me that interview. This is before I even got a chance to do the speech at the old Elijah Mosque in Tunica, Mississippi. At the old Elijah Mosque. This is Elijah Muhammad's Mosque in Tunica, Mississippi. It was Muhammad Mosque number 28 in Tunica, Mississippi. Now, I want you to know that there were Muslims, a massive amount of Muslims that were behind Minister Malcolm. I also want you to know that it was not the idea of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad to get Minister Malcolm out of the nation. It was the agents that forced Minister Malcolm out of the nation. And I want you to know that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was being manipulated because he was sick and he was receiving cortisone as a treatment. Now, before I had this knowledge, it was told to me by Sister Betty X, told me a lot of things. And she put a lot of things to question. She said she was still going over some things in her mind. But she did point out those that, and the media pointed them out too, that thought it would be great to heat people against Minister Malcolm. Minister Farrakhan was only one of them. You had Minister Wallace Waradeen Muhammad was another one. You had Jeremiah X that went with Minister Malcolm to Atlanta, Georgia, went to the South. Minister Malcolm was the man. He was in charge. And there was a massive amount of people that were jealous of Minister Malcolm. A massive amount of people that were jealous of him. All of the ones that were with Minister Malcolm ended up getting killed. Even those loyalists that were in the Nation of Islam, the ministers ended up getting killed, and they had a massive falling away. And Elijah Muhammad told them, when he learned of their plan, he told them to not touch Minister Malcolm. Those were orders. And you'll see why Minister Farrakhan says so. Well, if the man told you not to touch Minister Malcolm, why would you put an article in Muhammad's speech called The Hypocrite, where you would say that Minister Malcolm is worthy of death? This is what Minister Louis Farrakhan said, and this is another thing to let you know that he was an agent, because at that time, Sister Betty, from her own words, and Minister Malcolm thought that that Louis Farrakhan was trying to help them keep the nation together. So did the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad believe that until the story came out. So the federal government had pushed the kill button the minute that Minister Malcolm began to discuss with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in 1961. They said he only met one time. That's not true. 1961, then 1964. 1961 and then 1964. Because Minister Malcolm, as you know, went down to speak on another occasion in February of 1965, 3 weeks prior to his death. He went to speak in Selma, Alabama, which Martin King had gotten arrested. Sister Coretta Scott King called him to Selma, Alabama to speak. All of this is important because who is one of the major organizers, right, with Minister Malcolm? A very educated woman, right? Very educated in psychology, very educated in the art and science of nursing. It's Sister Betty X. And she herself was a well-known sister in the Nation of Islam and was responsible for its education and responsible for its human rights issues way earlier on in the nation. And this is very important. This is stuff that we don't talk about. So these are things that we need to discuss. Peace, Brother LD. Peace. These are things that we need to discuss. These are things that brothers and sisters don't discuss. And we look, see, it's the trick of the white man. That's what I tell you, to have us to look at these male leaders as messiahs when we have women to come before us as messiah. The black woman and the black man are the messianic leaders of black people. What does that mean? That means every boy, every girl is important. Every man, every woman is important. That's what it means. That's why we have to be about God's work pulling these brothers and sisters off the streets, pulling these kings and these queens off the streets from drugs, from prostitution, from pimping, all of this, right? To raise them up, what? From a dead level to a live one, right? So that they'll be able to teach, right? And reach, the ones that are out there in the same situation they was in and bring them into the temple of holiness, the temple of righteousness. And that's the truth, brothers and sisters. This is how we have to be. This is what we must do, right? This is what we must do. And so this Sister Betty's a powerful sister. And she's often looked over. She is often looked over. We don't pay attention to Sister Betty. We don't give her the credit. And it's not our fault if we didn't know any better and we finally know some better. But the minute that we know better, right, then we have to do better. So she grew up in Detroit. There's another key factor, brothers and sisters. I want you to pay attention to this. She grew up in Detroit. Minister Malcolm was sent to Detroit, right? This is almost like divine evidence, right? And righteousness is divine evidence and connection, because you have to understand that you got Detroit, Michigan, you got Langston, Michigan. And black people from around that area were heavily influenced by Garveyite. They were heavily influenced. Now, Sister Betty had foster parents, right? That were white. I want you to understand that. Indeed, and they were well-to-do people who sheltered her from this racism. But she herself said that it was a horrible experience for her, because she knew that racism existed, but that her foster parents protected her so much, and they didn't really want to deal with this word about racism. They never wanted to deal with it. So she had to really, really fight to see racism. Not only that, but she had to fight to see the levels of racism among black people. We have levels of racism among us. We may not have created racism, but the white man has levels of racism among us devoted to colors. Isn't that right? The white man have that. They have the lighter against the dark. Isn't that right? That's right. That's what he does. He has us against one another. If you look in South Africa, he had the Hutu against the Watusi. The Hutu meant the black, and the Watusi was those that were mixed with white. And the white man, the Belgians, raised the Watusi to believe that they were over the Hutus. Well, once he put this in their mind, that he could come on out of colonialism, right? And these Hutus and Watusi were killing one another. As a matter of fact, the Watusi was first killing and doing evil to the Hutus. Then after that, the Hutus woke up. And they said, look, we're not going to take no more of this killing. So they started killing the white people, right? The white Belgians and the white English and all of that. And also started killing the Watusis. Isn't that right? So these levels of racism have affected us in America too. Well, you got light and black that can't get together, right? You got those with even white blood, right? They can't get along with those with black blood because they say we're too militant. And they haven't accepted the fact that to the white man, they're just a lighter version of niggers, because that's what the white man teaches, right? Just a lighter version of a nigger. A mulatto is nothing but a whiter version of a nigger. It means dirty milk. That's all it means, dirty milk. So these levels of racism and having to understand it in the same way Minister Malcolm had to understand it, even in his own family, Sister Betty has to understand it on a grand scale connected to her, right? Because she had white foster parents, and then see it on a grand scale. So her white foster parents had sheltered her largely from this racism. Another thing is important to do and important to point out, and I'm glad, because if you go on the Wikipedia page, I helped with that. I helped to put that information out. And I tried to keep it as clean as possible. I have to often go back to change the information so that people will have correct information concerning our Sister Betty X-Shabzz. That she attended Tuskegee Institute in Alabama. That's right, brothers and sisters, Tuskegee. She attended Tuskegee. Let's talk about it, right? Tuskegee is a private, historically black college, right? Land grant college, isn't that right, brothers and sisters? And this is in Tuskegee, Alabama. What is so important about Tuskegee? Well, the experiments against us happened in Tuskegee. Why? Because Tuskegee was one of the most powerful universities that you could attend. This was a Morehouse. You don't hear me, brothers and sisters. You don't hear me. It wasn't Morehouse, right? It wasn't Morehouse. It wasn't John Hopkins. It was Tuskegee. Tuskegee, even today, continues to be one of the most powerful and prolific black universities, black private land-grant universities that you could attend today, right? The university was home to the scientists of George Washington Carver, isn't that right? And also to the World War II Tuskegee Airmen. So this is a very, very powerful place. Tuskegee University, what does it have? In the time of Sister Betty, it had 11 different bachelor training programs. One of them was nursing. Isn't that right? It had programs in agriculture, just as many other black colleges had. It had, during her time, it had 5 master's degree programs, and it had 2 doctoral degree programs. One of them was a doctor of veterinary medicine, right? This is important to know. But now, since her time, it has 43 bachelor degree programs. It has architect programs. It also has 17, 17 master degree programs, and it has 5 doctoral degree programs, and it still offers the doctor of veterinary medicine, medical science, or veterinary medicine. So the university campus was designed by a brother named what's that brother's name? Black brother. They call him an American architect, but he was a black architect, right? An educator named Robert Robertson Taylor. And that's very important to know, because this Taylor was educated at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And then he was the first accredited African-American architect who graduated in 1892. Listen to that now. Now, how would he know these things? Because a lot of them are coming out of slavery, right? A lot of them coming out of slavery with this knowledge, and they put a piece of paper to it, right, to make it more powerful for them, because they were already building anyway. And another important thing you ought to know, that this individual that built Tuskegee, laid out the design, also was friends with a man that couldn't read nor write, who built the first National Baptist Convention headquarter church in West Helena, Arkansas. That's something that you should know. This, and the brother that built that building, he couldn't even read or write. He drew the design in the dirt, and he built it exactly like he drew it in the dirt. So, brothers and sisters, the connection with Sister Betty is a very powerful one. It's a very powerful connection, right? Our T says, that's right, brother. Nicole Moore talks about our Willie Lynch. That's correct. And this Willie Lynch syndrome was created between us. It was literally created between us to keep us divided. And this level of colors, right? The same things happen in Africa. Same things happen in Africa. These level of colors are made to keep us divided, right? Because for a black person to worship themselves due to the fact that they have the blood of the white man in them is not only degradation, right? But that is a mental illness, right? That is brought on by race. So when we talk about manic aggressive personality disorder, which is my research, you'll understand why many blacks are almost limited in their response, right, of self-defense when their community is being attacked. All of that is tied up in this Willie Lynch syndrome, as Sister Nicole has pointed out. All of this is tied up in the our past reference toward Rwanda, because colonialism is a lot older, right? It's a system of segregation, but it's still a lot older than slavery itself, right? Because when they overpower a place, you may enslave people, but the system for that under capitalism is colonialism, right? The system of superiority and the system of inferiority. And so that's something that we'll be talking about more so you know. But this Sister Betty Shabazz is very, very interesting, brothers and sisters. So you could see how her mind was. When she was going to Alabama, she fussed with her foster parents, because she was experiencing all kinds of racism there, and they didn't want to talk to her about it. How many people know, quote unquote, good white people who won't discuss racism? For whatever reason. You know good white people that won't discuss racism. Huh? How many of you know good white people who won't discuss racism? Right? They don't want to discuss it because it pulls the cover off of them, brothers and sisters. That's the truth. White man don't want you to find out the truth. You find out that he's racist. There's not one white person on this planet that's not racist. Even John Brown, a white revolutionary, and you have to get the book Blackheart, sister. You got to get that book. I want you to get Blackheart and Black Rage, because Blackheart talks about John Brown. And these are actual research. It took me a long time to complete that research. I did it after my master's studies and was finally able to put it in. But it's important because we see that the white man is psychotic. And John Brown himself note that they're spiritually wicked and psychotic, and that the only way that he would be able to deal with the white man of his day is to kill him. And this is a white man saying this about another white man. So you can take his word because he's white. Isn't that right? So in Tuskegee, she began to experience all this racism that she wasn't used to. She didn't understand the levels of racism, how they were, but she knew there was racism in the North, but in the South, it's just plain in your face. Plain in your face. So when she attended Tuskegee Institute in Alabama, and this is very important to know. I try to make sure that I'm studied up so that when the questions come, I'm able to answer it properly. And so that's why I'm laying the foundation. So you'll know why they would have to kill, death by fire, our sister, right? Sister Betty Dean Sanders, otherwise known as Sister Betty X-Shabzz. She had her first encounters with racism in Alabama. She was unhappy with the situation in Alabama, right? She wasn't going to deal with it. She moved to New York, where she became a nurse. Remember, I told you she studied nursing, right, at Tuskegee. So Tuskegee at this time was still very advanced. It was more advanced than Morehouse. Morehouse is just a coon college that the white man keeps up because he dumps money in Morehouse. I'm going to tell the truth, brothers and sisters, right? That's why you got so much homosexuality at Morehouse. That's why you got men dressing like women at Morehouse. It's the truth. You know it's true. I'm going to say what I'm saying. You know I'm going to say it. That's the reason why you got so many men at Morehouse switching like women with all them fine sisters at Spelman University. A perfect place to practice polygamy, if you was going to do it, would be right there on the campus of Morehouse with all them fine black sisters. You hear me, brothers and sisters. Don't worry. The sister's already given me her permission to say it like I'm saying it. And she's laughing as we go because she know her brother that I'm going to be straight up and going to be honest. Besides, I'm a Muslim. I'm a Muslim. So, brothers and sisters, she was unhappy with the situation in Alabama. She moved to New York where she became a nurse. And it was there that she met Malcolm X. Yes. Matter of fact, yes, it was there that she met Minister Malcolm X. It was 1956. And she joined the Nation of Islam in 1956. She joined the Nation of Islam. And they married in 1958. Along with, let me see. They married in 1958. Now, in 1964, excuse me, when she left the nation with Minister Malcolm, I want you to understand that Minister Malcolm didn't leave. He was being forced out. I have to say that. And you hear him be more honest about it in 1965. He's more honest. 1964, mid to late 1964 to 1965. You hear him saying it, that he didn't leave, he was forced out. This is very important. So she left the nation in 1964 and then witnessed this assassination. It wasn't not even a year later, in February 21st, 1965. Again, she was there with her children when Louis Farrakhan's organized assassins had came and killed Minister Malcolm. Why do I say it that way? Because Farrakhan, who should have been in Boston at Mosque number 11, was in Newark, New Jersey, at that mosque. And the men that killed Minister Malcolm were organized and trained at that mosque. Not only that, but I tell you, we talked about James Best, the same man that shot Dr. Khalid Muhammad in the first assassination attempt. James Best flew over from California to join them at the Newark Mosque. He's brought in to New York. This is the mystery man, right? This is the mystery man, one of them. And when Minister Malcolm is shot, there are those that helped in the planning, right, that are arrested, because none of them were innocent, brothers and sisters. None of them, I don't care what the federal government said, none of them were innocent. And that's the reason why they had to serve the time. They try to maintain their innocence. Now, these men that was arrested for the killing of Minister Malcolm had also endangered his family with with these assassination attempts on him on several occasions. But how many people know that once the atmosphere had been stirred up, that the federal government, that the federal government could come in and put his fingerprint in, which is the fire. We're going to talk about that. Minister Malcolm was plagued by fire from the white man as a child. He was plagued by fire from the white man as an adult. With his family, right? He was plagued by this fire. Post his death, post ascension, after he passed, they plagued him with the same fire and blamed it on his grandson, which again, his grandson proclaimed that he never set the fire. Then as an adult, you'll see him saying that he was responsible for the fire. So they talk about his behavior and all of that. But as a child, we have to go back to all of that to find out that he said he didn't remember setting the fire as a child. As an adult, he claimed it. As a child, he said he didn't. If our children are behind enemy lines in the white man's institution, how frequent is it for the white man to get our children to say things and confuse their thoughts, things that they haven't done, but just the fact of them being behind enemy lines and being pressured by the white man to say, hey, if you say this, you can get out. If you get this on record, you can get out, right? For them to say it, pressure them into saying something, a type of confession, right? And distorting their mind and their ego altogether. We know how it is to have our children behind enemy lines. You and I have grown up behind enemy lines, right? And we know the mental health centers, the public schools, libraries, and all of it is against us. That wasn't created for us. It was created for that man, but it wasn't created for us. So brothers and sisters, at 64, she got out. We want to discuss that. We want to discuss the fire. We want to discuss young Mauricelm-Lei, because you have to understand that not only is Minister Malcolm dead, but Sister Betty, right? And then you had young Mauricelm-Lei, who was rising in power, right? All praises be to Allah. Then you had his aunt, right? Malika. His aunt Malika, who was rising in power as an international socialist, who was also killed. What was young Mauricelm-Lei, Malcolm's ex-grandson, doing? He was rising as an internationalist. Who is teaching them this? Minister Malcolm has transcended. Who is teaching them this? Sister Betty X-Shabzz. Let's talk about her. She went to, Brooklyn State College of Nursing. She was trained in nursing art and science at Tuskegee University. She's meeting all of these individuals, black prominent individuals, right, that are committed not towards civil rights, brothers and sisters, but towards separation and independence, right? Because you had a black Christian nationalist movement going on when you had black liberation theology being taught by the Nation of Islam. You still had Garveyites on the move. You still had Mauricelm Temples of America on the move. So there were massive groups, right, that were talking about the same thing: independence, and being inside of our own communities, our own colleges, our own businesses, right? Our own banks, our own federal credit unions. So it's important for you to know. Now, she witnessed the assassination the following year, left with the responsibility of raising 6 children, brothers and sisters. Powerful sister, powerful sister. She still pursued higher education, right? She still went to Medgar Evers College. That's what they call it now. Medgar Evers College, but it was Brooklyn State College of Nursing at the time that she went. But now today they call it the attachment to Medgar Evers College. This is the attachment, right? So for the education, Brooklyn State College of Nursing, and she went to work at Medgar Evers College, right? And also, which is also in Brooklyn, New York. Now, I want you to understand that in the 1995 arrest of Korbela, we're gonna have to talk about that. We're gonna talk about that. The 1995 arrest of Sister Korbela. We got to talk about it, brothers and sisters. We got to talk about it. Now, I want you to understand that they said that she was allegedly conspiring to murder Louis Farrakhan. Allegedly. There's no proof. It's purely circumstantial. Purely circumstantial, right? Now, how many people know that Minister Louis Farrakhan is under no danger? He's an agent of the white man, right? The white man's going to protect him because he needs him. And even if the white man wasn't protecting him, you got so many black Muslims around this brother, right? This misguided, lying brother, right? Who's less than honorable. You got all these Muslims that are agents working for the white man in the police department and all of that around him. So he was under no real danger. Come on, brothers and sisters, talk to me today. Talk to me. He was not under any real danger. But to further add insult to injury, this is how afraid the white man is and his coons toward Minister Malcolm's family. This is why Dr. Khalid Muhammad made us make sure that we would have, no matter where they were going, learn their schedules and be able to provide protection for them in the shadows. When you look at African American Defense League, was created for that purpose. Our first duty was to protect elderly civil rights leaders that were connected in the fight for the black community. He said you can't have human rights if we didn't have civil rights first. He said the difference between, this is Dr. Khalid Muhammad, the difference between a civil rights leader and a human rights leader is that one has learned better. When the black man learned that he's a fool for fighting for the white man's civil rights, then eventually he'll start fighting for his own rights, which is involved in human rights. So in 1995, in the arrest of Korbela, right, for her alleged conspiring to kill Minister Farrakhan, a lie, a professional liar, a professional lie. That's all it was. Sister Shabzz, Sister Betty X, took in her 10-year-old grandson, Malcolm, right, who had been getting in trouble. Young Malcolm Shabzz had been getting in trouble. He had been in and out of the system. Is that right? Talk to me, brothers and sisters, right? If you want to break down or misuse a young man or woman, put him in the system. The white man, when he has his way with him, same thing he did to Minister Malcolm. As a child, he came through a system and was taught inferiority. He had to overcome this. Well, Sister Betty was determined that her grandson wouldn't be a statistic. Isn't that right? And we find it strange and suspicious that in 1997, brothers and sisters, they said that young Malcolm Shabzz set fire to the apartment, right? And that Sister Betty X suffered these severe burns. She lasted in the hospital about 3 weeks, and then after that, she died. Now, let's talk about this, brothers and sisters. We got to talk about it. We got to talk about it. All the contributions on Sister Betty, Wikipedia, and independent writings I'm responsible for. Also, we talk about her in part 3 and part 4 of Malcolm X. Who killed Malcolm X? Why was he killed? So, brothers and sisters, we got to talk about it. We got to talk about it. Now, our brother T says, brother, would you speak on Alex Haley? It's sad that he also was an agent working with brother Malcolm X. We're going to talk about it. Let's talk about it. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. We're going to talk about it. And T also said, well, was her boyfriend an agent? Now, first of all, I'm glad that you asked. I'm glad that you asked, because we have to understand that anybody white, and he was not her boyfriend. That's the first thing I want to dispel. This is the swing, what they call the reporter's privilege, a writer's privilege. They had swung that she was dating this white guy. That's not true. They were friends, right? In the sense, because the sister was going through a transition of drugs, right? When Minister Malcolm was killed, his daughters were spurned out. How many sisters and brothers know that it's hard on a single black mother? And then not only that, but these are the children of Minister Malcolm X. And you got people around you all the time trying to make some deal, trying to get some money, trying to do something. This guy, this white guy, unbeknownst to our sister, was compromised, right? She didn't seek to befriend them because they were under a microscope. So she had to at least create some semblance, right? You know how it is. There are many of us wouldn't want to be around white folks at all. But when they come around, you might be decent. You might be decent. You're not their friend. You see, because we don't use the term friend. The white man used those terms. I've never met one black person, even a conscious or unconscious coon, that will call a black person their friend, much less a white man. Come on, brothers and sisters. You know I'm right about it. You know I'm right about it. So they use these terms, these vernaculars, to try to make it seem to us that Minister Malcolm's family were socialists. Isn't that right? But we have enough sense to know, right, that they're nationalists. We already know that, right? They had no choice but to be nationalists. And from now on, they'll have to be nationalists, right? And it don't matter how they have to work, move, or maneuver, but we know that the path has already been set for their nationalism because their mother was a nationalist, their father was a nationalist, raised them as nationalists, right? Right? And the whole argument of Minister Malcolm's death was talking about his black nationalist stand. How much more would the government be afraid, come on, brothers and sisters, of his children coming out, to stand, right, as black nationalists and to educate black people? How much more would Sister Betty Shabazz, come on, talk to me today, brothers and sisters, would teach her children the power of black nationalism, powers of independence, right? That power, because if they learn a trade and learn an independent trade on their own, then they will be able to survive. Because they already know that they had to capitalize off the teaching and education of their parents, because the white man ain't going to give Malcolm X children a job. They may give Dr. King's children a job, right? If the truth be told, Dr. King was one of the strongest nationalists before he died, from 65 to 68, right? They had to keep the lie going. Sister Coretta Scott King was another powerful black nationalist who believed in independence, believed in power for black women. Why? Because she taught nationalism, and she was able to give instructions, right, for a changing society that had no concern about its black citizens. Talk to me, brothers and sisters. Isn't that right? Dr. King, before he died, who got organization from his wife, right, and their mobilization for powerful poor people, Dr. King's wife told him that we have to begin to speak to the pain of black people and tell them not to invest in a country that have not invested in them. How much more if Coretta Scott King would tell her children that, and her husband, how much more would Sister Betty X-Shabazz, who was more educated, more intense with black nationalism, not lead, right, her children to stand as independents who were separated from the American society by creating their own sense of worth, their own economy, right? and pooling those resources in areas that mattered both nationally and internationally. And brothers and sisters, with that in mind, we're going to discuss why they had to kill Sister Betty X-Shabzz. This is one of the most powerful talks that I've ever given. I've waited for it. I've had a chance to lecture this only 2 or 3 other occasions because the colleges that I had set for the lecture, black colleges, had turned it down because they began to point out too many sellout coon colleges. They have not did their best in uplifting our black brothers and sisters that are giving their lives for human rights. And brothers and sisters, we would be remiss and amiss if we did not bring up Sister Betty X-Shabzz, one of the most powerful women of our times and of the American times while we've been in the bondage of this white devil. Brothers and sisters, don't forget to like and subscribe and thumbs up. Please, we definitely need it. Hit the button and the bell. Let us know we're here. What does Vicky Dillon say? Thumbs up, subscribe, like. But brothers and sisters, definitely hit the thumbs up so that we could certainly keep the attention toward this site. Now, let's talk about it. Alex Haley. Let's talk about it. Minister Malcolm meets Alex Haley. What year was that? The year is a year before he passed. Alex Haley come to Minister Malcolm from Playboy magazine. You can research this. I did the excerpt and the report and also submitted that to Wikipedia, and they had to set it in. These are accurate. It's very accurate. Those are the few that I do. Anybody that I talk about, I've added things in those Wikipedias, and I've contributed at least 40 to 50% of the information. Brothers and sisters, anybody can add, but I have to go back and make sure that I'm correcting what they add and pay close attention to those sites. So I believe in the history. I believe in the scientific research. I believe in the algorithm. So it's something I don't interrupt. I just like to know that the information that they're putting out is the correct information. But when you go back to study it, whether you study Alex Haley's site, which is tied into Minister Malcolm's site, you'll see that we put in important information that Minister Malcolm meets Alex Haley. Actually, it's the end of 1963 when he first met him. He asked for the rights to the story. Minister Malcolm really doesn't want to do a story about himself because he's still committed to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I want you to understand that. You got to understand this. That's why I tell you that there was communication between the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Minister Malcolm X and mutual respect, even during the transition. Because if you see late 63 to early 64, when Minister Malcolm said, I can better work for the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad outside of the Nation of Islam. If you go, this is said in front of the press, national press, New York Times carried the story, and all the major papers of that day. He was not done with Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I keep saying this because I know the devil has put out a lie. Now, we'll talk about Alex Haley because we have to talk about him to point this out. But let's also talk about another coon that people respect highly, Spike Lee, who did more to extort our people than anybody, more to use a race card and make money from our people than anybody, and he's the most apostate person. In other words, you hardly ever see him really get involved with anything in our community. Let's talk about Spike Lee too. Can I type that in here? Can I type Spike Lee is also, right, a coon, right? I'm going to capitalize that. Coon, right, and traitor. Remember, brothers and sisters, I told you before, the white man is never going to put anybody in front of you that he doesn't control. There's no way. This is part of the formula. You have to see it, right? If we're gonna discuss Alex Haley, right, and his involvement, right, with the white infrastructure, The Western global power structure is a white infrastructure of global oppression, brothers and sisters. We have to discuss main ingredients to keep that nailed down. Remember, when one dies, another rise. That's the way the white man wanted, right? In his black boule. This part of the black boule. When one dies, the other rise. And the best way for them to infiltrate and distort our knowledge, somebody talked to me today, is by getting black people to betray other black people. Isn't that right, brothers and sisters? You and I are experiencing today confusion and loss in that direction. Greeting, Brother Kenneth Muhammad. Glad to see you, brother. We are experiencing now an awakening amongst black people where the white man can't fool you, he can't fool me, and we already know who the coon is. You even got people that are not conscious that can point out when the white man has his finger on a black hand. We got people that are pointing that out now. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and thumbs up, brothers and sisters. We have our eyes have come open as black people where we're able to see this. And I'm so glad, brothers and sisters, because if you look today, we're wiser, we're smarter than we've ever been in history. And the man just can't pull the same dirty tricks over us that he did 20 years ago. He can't do it. He can't even do what he did 1 year ago because we see him as he is. Nothing but an old pale thing, nothing but an old sickly thing, nothing but the devil incarnate. You guessed it, the tool of Satan, where this wise Satan is running these dumb devils to do the evil will, and while black demons are doing the will of these evil devils that's being controlled by a wise Satan. And that satanic ritual, these serpentines, is that right? From the Illuminati, the true Illuminati and serpentines are running, right? Black brothers and black sisters literally in the ground, using them till they die. Using them in the entertainment institution, they're using them, right? In the movie institution, they're using them. In the educational institution, they're using them. They have picked out black people who will sell out, right? And buy in to anything that's good for them that will definitely damage the black community. But brothers and sisters, we have to understand that when we're talking about coon and traitors, we got to include all of them. So Spike Lee is also a coon and traitor. What happened when Alex Haley gets sick? Right? I'm going to tell you, we're going to discuss this because I want you to understand that Alex Haley, when he's writing this book on Malcolm X, the autobiography of Malcolm X, there's another writer that interrupts Alex Haley. Walk with me a little while, brothers and sisters. Just walk with me a little while. This writer was from, we talked about the paper before. This writer was from Playboy magazine. This writer was from Playboy magazine. And his name was, what was the guy's name? Excuse me, brothers and sisters. This writer, he was a white writer. He was a white writer that came from Playboy magazine. When Alex Haley is writing the book for Minister Malcolm X, late 63 and all of 1964, the book is published in 1965 after Minister Malcolm's death. So literally they killed Minister Malcolm to make the book popular too. They even timed the book, my God, and then timed the death, right? And what is the guy's name? He worked with David Stevens, which was another white guy that Alex Haley had hired when he was writing the book Queen. You remember that movie Queen? The story of a American family. He said American family, but the story of a African American family. And Queen came out in what, 1993. Now he had hired this white guy, was an Australian writer named David Stevens. Was an Australian writer and director, best known for his work with what was it? The Psalm of Us was one of it, and then another writing, excuse me, brothers and sisters, was A Town Like Alice. Now, this Australian writer, Alex Haley had hired him. Now, here he's dealing with the white man. That's how you know that he's a coon. He's dealing with the white man. He get this story to write, they sent him in, actually, to get this story to write something on Minister Malcolm. First, he's working with the Reader's Digest, which is control writing. Then, one of the best American control writers and exploiters of our people. Then, he gets with Playboy magazine, where he is given money, right, to write this story on Minister Malcolm. And Minister Malcolm even says, because it's a very intense time, he understands the flow of it, because he said, by the time this book is released, he said, I'll probably be dead. And that's the truth. So he do these interviews with Minister Malcolm X, and he's collaborating, right? Collaborating with a bunch of lengthy interviews, and he's turning these interviews and the writings over to who? Playboy magazine. Now, Playboy magazine is controlled, isn't that right? Playboy magazine is controlled by the federal government. Come on, somebody. Talk to me today. We going to school today. It's controlled by the federal government. So Playboy magazine, and we setting the foundation because we have to go back to explain it. Playboy magazine comes from is a men's lifestyle magazine, right? An exploiter of women, right? Exploiter especially of black women. It was created by Hugh Hefner, right? We know Hugh Hefner, old pervert Hugh Hefner. We know who he is. He's a molester of young black girls, right? Isn't that right? A molester of young black girls. He creates all of this, right? 1953, right? He creates all of this. Alex Haley, who is keenly aware that Hefner, who has this rise through the federal government, is turning over this information to an organization that has to share it with the federal government, and is also in allegiance to J. Edgar Hoover, the FBI, the CIA. Is that right? COINTELPRO. He already knows it. In his autobiography with Minister Malcolm, right, he gets information on the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He gets information on what do you call it? Malcolm's direction and his the trajectory of Minister Malcolm's life when he's prior to coming to the nation. This is sensitive information, right? That is provided, understand this, under extreme duress. Minister Malcolm was afraid for his life. This information is provided under extreme duress, right? And they send in another brother to get a story, right? They send him in to get a story. And he talk about Alex Haley talk about how Minister Malcolm's word is actually perverting him, and he calls him his own self a coward, while he was not strong enough to stand up against the white man and was working for the white man. I have that in the book, Black Rage. I also have it in the book, Manic Aggressive Personality Disorder. It's in there. It's in those books. So if you get those books, you'll see these actual words, right? Written by Alex Haley, bagged up by Alex Haley. Nobody can deny it, right? But they will not allow the book sales on Amazon. They will not allow Who Killed Minister Malcolm X and Why on Amazon. They would not allow it. They would not allow it. And these were actual facts. So he talked about Malcolm X's philosophy of black nationalism, black pride, black Africanism. And this is the direction Minister Malcolm was going. But Minister Malcolm made it plain that I can do better work for the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad out of the Muslim movement. So he believed in the teaching of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but it was a chance to distort Minister Malcolm's word. Minister Malcolm is not alive to control the effects of this book and to put it out. I want you to understand too, Minister Malcolm was very cautious and leery of the way that Alex Haley wrote, and I show you that in the epilogue when I chopped down literally by dates, right? The intensity of the writing, and this is Minister Malcolm's own words, and also Alex Haley can't deny it. Nobody in his life can deny it. Cannot deny it. Now, he ghost wrote the autobiography of Minister Malcolm X. You don't hear me, do you, brothers and sisters? What is a ghostwriter, brothers and sisters? A ghostwriter is hired to write literary, journalistic works, essays, texts, and all of this. But listen, that are officially credited to another person as the author. Come on, talk to me, brothers and sisters. So here's the question. If a ghostwriter is the one to get the information, right, the literary text that is contributed to another author, then who wrote the book of Minister Malcolm X? My God. My God. So we have to ask these questions, brothers and sisters. He got all the information. He collected this information, but who wrote the book? Now, there's another book that was written on Minister Malcolm called The Reinvention, right, of Minister Malcolm X, where Maribel Manning had cancer, never finished the book, and we come to find out that a white lesbian finished the book, and by the time she finished, she tried to even say that Minister Malcolm was gay. And even Louis Farrakhan, a known coon and agent, had to come out and deny that claim, because we know that Minister Malcolm was not gay, right? But I'm trying to tell you what happens, brothers and sisters, when we are in collaboration with devils and devilish organizations that will curl our thinking, right? The way we think, the way we should be. That's correct. That's correct. Look at our brothers and sisters. They on point tonight. They on point. Herbert Collender. That's right. Herbert Collender. That's right. Our sister's on point today. Right? Harold Kullander. Both of those. One is his agent name anyway. Right? Margaret Walker, Alexander sued him for that book. Come on, brothers and sisters. Come on, talk to me. Talk to me. So we know that this knowledge is out there, but the man will feed us anything if we don't check it. That's what a devil does. Isn't that what a devil does? Fool us. He come to rob, steal, and kill. Isn't that right? That's what a devil does. That's what he does, brothers and sisters. That's what he does. He come to rob, steal, and kill us so that we won't know exactly what's going on. So that we won't know, brothers and sisters, what is going on. So as you can see, we have been kept from the truth. We've still been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok, tucked and tied and told. We have been done, brothers and sisters. This has been done to us. So one thing we have to understand, brothers and sisters, one thing we have to understand is that when you and I receive information, the information that we receive has to be thoroughly researched, because we can't trust the person that gives it. We can't even trust the person that gives it. So, Sister Betty, let's go back to this fire, this fingerprint of the fire. You remember when Minister Malcolm was growing up as a child, his father was a Garveyite. He's come out of the National Baptist Convention movement, right? The Back to Africa movement, right? Marcus Garvey. His father, Earl Little, was a Garveyite. As a Garveyite, he taught what? Independence. He taught Africa for the African, black for black, right? They built up their house, right? The father built the house and put them on a farm. Everything was totally independent. They lived, right, by the philosophy of what they were taught. They had strict raising, isn't that right? To depend on one another, to create a type of organization and bulwark within the family. Isn't that right, brothers and sisters? So what happened, brothers and sisters? When the Ku Klux Klan, because Minister Malcolm's father was preaching to black folk, started to galvanize a massive amount of black folks to the point that he could even preach in black folks' home. People would meet in the home, and they started supporting him. What did they do? What did they do? What did they do? We find out that they killed Minister Malcolm's father, right? Before doing that, they burned his house. Who's the fingerprint of fire? The white man. The federal government is the fingerprint of fire, right? Right? This is the federal government. You can't say the white man in one place and not say the white man in another place. It's the white man. If you say the federal government, that's the white man. If you say the Ku Klux Klan, that's the federal government. If you say police, that's the Ku Klux Klan, right? If you say racist, that's the average white man. So you still are in danger, right? With fire and otherwise by the white man. Now, I said that to say this. I said that to say this, brothers and sisters, and I want you to know that this fingerprint follows Minister Malcolm. Not only was he almost poisoned in France, right, and there was supposed to be a fire there, but I want you to know that his house was firebombed by the federal government amid the threats of the Nation of Islam without the approval of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Again, Elijah Muhammad never approved the death of Minister Malcolm X. He never approved it. He told them to leave Minister Malcolm alone. These were instructions. These were orders. My God. So the agents that called for his death and the confusion, two of the main ones, although they weren't the only ones, again, was Wallace Wardeen Muhammad, Most Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, right? I say most honorable because they say it, but he is less than honorable, right? Less than honorable. You had civil rights reporters such as Gordon Parks going in and doing an investigation for the federal government and then reporting back to the federal government. Other civil rights photographers were doing the very same thing. Black people turning on black people. So they initially meant to get Malcolm's entire family. This federal government meant to kill his entire family. They didn't get him. Minister Malcolm got the family out in time. You know, if brothers and sisters going to kill you, they're not going to waste time making no Molotov cocktail. Many of them don't know how to make a Molotov cocktail. Isn't that right, brothers and sisters? They're going to get a gun or a knife if they're going to deal with you. Right? They're going to shank you or they're going to shoot you. They ain't going to waste their time getting no Molotov cocktail. That's the government. And they use the same tricks today. When you have riots and they're having marches, the government start to break up the march, right, with riots, and they throw Molotov cocktails. We've seen it in Trayvon Martin. We've seen it during the campaign of Mike Brown. We've seen it during Kachini Powell. We've seen it during the campaign of Gina Six. We saw it during the campaign of George Floyd. And they killed him in broad daylight. And then began to start burning areas across the country. The government did that to make you and I, when we're standing up, seem like rabble rousers and seem like violent people. They even broke their own store to stop burning their own building. That's the government. That's the government. So, with our brother out of the way, excuse me, and Sister Betty knowing what was going on, brothers and sisters, what would be the best opportunity to get our sister out of the way? Because Sister Quabila, right? Sister Betty's daughter, that was allegedly, right? We have to say allegedly, because we have no proof, allegedly conspiring to murder Minister Louis Farrakhan. This is the second daughter of Malcolm X. Listen to this. And Sister Betty Shabazz, right? She witnessed the death in 1995. She witnessed the death. Not only that, brothers and sisters, but I have you to know that she was or is one of the more powerful sisters among Minister Malcolm X, right? She is 61 years of age today. She was born in 1960. She was 2 years old. No, excuse me, I take it back. She was 5 years old at the death of her father. 5 years old, right? Going on 5, because he was killed in 65. She was born in 1960. He was killed in 1965 of February. So she was 4 years old at the time. 4 years old, 4 years old, 1 month. 4 years and 1 month years old. She's the second daughter of Minister Malcolm X. I'm about to blow your mind right now, brothers and sisters. When I say this to you, you're going to really understand and put together what I'm trying to paint. She's the second daughter of Malcolm and Betty. In 1965, she witnessed the assassination of her father by these 3 gunmen. Listen to this. She was arrested in 1995 in connection with this alleged plot to kill Minister Louis Farrakhan. Now, I want you to ask me who her son is. I want you to ask me who her son is. Her son is young Mauricelm-Lei. She's an international spokesman, rising in power, organizing the movement of Minister Malcolm X, and is responsible for the X generation movement. Talk to me, somebody. Dr. Khalid Muhammad, who befriended her, became a powerful person in that movement. Right? Her son was killed, right? He was in Mexico. Same devils that Minister Farrakhan is allowing to come in to the Nation of Islam to be over black people. Right? Another form of slavery through a black boule. Farrakhan, who's connected to the white man by his own blood lineage, right? And who worship these Jews. Yeah, he really worshiped these Jews. Malcolm X's grandson, Sister Quabila's son, Malcolm Latif Shabazz, the grandson of Minister Malcolm X. Listen, there's something about this month of May. He was born in October 1984, but he was killed in May 9th, 2013. Minister Malcolm's birthday is May the 19th. Talk to me, somebody. Somebody talk to me. This is the dirty humor of the white man. This was the son of Sister Quabila Shabazz, right? This is the son, right? The first male descendant of Minister Malcolm. He was murdered in Mexico City, May the 9th, 2013. He was 28 years of age. Minister Malcolm was 28 years of age when he came into the knowledge of black nationalism and Pan-Africanism. He was rising at that height. They would not have another rise of a black Messiah, especially not the blood of Minister Malcolm X. Brothers and sisters, this rabbit hole is so deep. This is a deep rabbit hole. And not only that, right, but his aunt is killed, right? Sister Betty's daughter is killed, ironically, and I say killed because the death was suspicious, brothers and sisters. This was a suspicious death. The death was suspicious. Now, Sister Malika is killed, right? In her apartment. I say killed because that's what it was. I haven't got all the notes together, but I already knew that the white man was so ready to put out that we don't see any evidence of foul play. Why is it important for you to put that out if there's been no evidence of foul play? Let's do some deductive reasoning here. We can't trust the white man. We can't trust his news. So that's out. We know it's suspicious that our sister Malika Shabazz, Malcolm X's other daughter, is killed, right? After the killers of Minister Malcolm and the organizers of Minister Malcolm, they were all guilty. All of those brothers was guilty. They were let go out of prison. The rest of them, right? The rest of them that were in the plot of killing Minister Malcolm were let go out of prison. Then our sister is killed. They don't even publicize the name of them brothers, right? They don't even really publicize their names. That's suspect, brothers and sisters. That's suspect. What did the sister know about? That's the question. What is it that our sister knew about that had her life on the line as an internationalist? The question has to be asked. Question has to be asked, brothers and sisters. For far too long, we let these things pass and we will not investigate. We won't do it. I don't know why. I don't know why. But we will not do it. We will not investigate these happenings. We won't investigate it. We are so quick to follow what the white man wants. What the white man says, we're so quick to allow it to validate us. And it continues to destroy us. Isn't that right? It continues to monopolize us one toward the other. It continues to. So we say, well, her grandson was, he was troubled and he burned the house by accident. Here this child is at 11, 12, 13, somewhere between 11 and 13 years of age saying, no, look, I didn't do it. I don't remember doing that. Right? They literally broke him mentally to make him admit that he may have done it. That he may have done it. What process did they use and how did this affect our young brother's mind? Because they saw that he was on a road of rise and power. That the spirit of the Holy One was in him. And that our young Messiah was going to bridge black nationalism with black internationalism. You don't hear me, brothers and sisters. The same way that his mom was already securing this line of study, research, and politicism on a grand international scale. How, with this connection, how powerful would we have been, and what position would it have put us in with this move that they were making with the United Nations? Brothers and sisters, the same move that the Most Honorable Silas Muhammad is making today. He was making then, which was also an ally in the movement of Minister Malcolm X's family. Talk to me, brothers and sisters. We have to be wise This is why I say we have to be steadfast and unmovable in what we know, and to study and research and reach others, even if it's by one. Each one reach one. Because it's important that these things be brought out. My desire, my prayer, brothers and sisters, that I'll be able one day, soon, we've already got an invitation to Detroit, but I'll be able to one day soon come into every town where you all are and be able to express where our people are, and be able to express and teach these things on point and show you where to find it. But we've done the research in our books. And brothers and sisters, don't forget to like, subscribe, thumbs up, and don't forget to go on the site and get these books. The knowledge is in there where we're able to talk about it and to debate it. And I want to hear from your perspective. I want to hear from your perspective. We have been duped far too long. You name one person, one black person that the white man put in front of us, and I'll show you a government agent. He'll never put anybody in front of you that he can't use. That's a fact. And you find a person that's having a hard time, get truth out, having a hard time to stand, and I'll show you somebody who's actually standing for God, who's on the righteous side of God, and will get you on the side of God. With all the work that the most honorable Silas Muhammad has done, you have never seen a white man give him the camera time that Louis Farrakhan has. Because Louis Farrakhan signed a contract in blood that if he killed Minister Malcolm X, that the white man would make him infamous as a Nation of Islam leader. And some people love that attention so much that they'll do anything. Those kind of people are not beyond killing their own family. You better hear me, brothers and sisters. Somebody who loves power, right? Because he don't have any real power. He don't have any real power. And he don't have really real influence. He has a virtual influence that's influenced by television and the equipment of the white man. And the white man can use that, right? Didn't he try to do the same thing to Jesus? When he said, all of this I'll give you if you fall down and worship me. Right? But how many people know that God is still on the throne and he controls all the power of the enemy? And so, brothers and sisters, when our sister's house is burned, they had to get her out of the way because she was training too many black people in nationalism and making herself too available to our people. And how much farther would we be? How much farther would we be with this teaching and training of our dear sister Betty X-Shabzz if she was alive, to guide us and answer the questions? A true revolutionary who paid the price was ultimately burned by the federal government, the CIA and the FBI, and COINTELPRO. So brothers and sisters, we have to be awake. Our eyes have to be open. We're going to talk about Sister Coretta King soon. That's coming up. And talk about her going to operation in Mexico City. Somebody talk to me. Same place the young Malcolm-Shabazz was killed, right? The very same place the young Malcolm-Shabazz was killed. Her going there and dying in Mexico. We're going to talk about that too very soon. Brothers and sisters, I want to thank you. I want to thank you so much for showing up. And I want to thank you for tuning in to the show. And I say unto you as I began, peace be unto you, brothers and sisters. Peace. The peace that God gives. The peace that only God can give. We send that peace unto you. And as we close out, as we're closing, brothers and sisters, I want to say to you, be faithful. Be steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of God, which is founded in our holy, righteous stand, right? Which is found in us as a messianic people, right? While we're connected with Jesus, right? Did Jesus say, what you done, what I've done, ye shall do greater things? Didn't he say that, brothers and sisters? So we got to be wise. We got to be steadfast. We got to be unmovable and always abounding in the work of God, which is found in Christ Jesus. Right? Who is the Christ? Who is the true Christ? That's us. We are the Christ. We are the Christ. We are the messianic promise that God has sent in the world to save the world. We are the truth, brothers and sisters. You and I are that truth. We are the truth. So, brothers and sisters, I tell you as I sign out, I say unto you, stay strong, love one another, hug somebody beside you, let them know that you love them. Study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman needed not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. And brothers and sisters, I salute you today and say peace be unto you. Assalamu alaikum.